Good evening everyone and welcome along to the penultimate round of the ILR1 Xbox season. Well, it's round 9 of this 10 race championship. It has been a thrilling season up till now. We had 4 drivers in contention going into this race for the final round of the championship. Unfortunately though, one of those drivers is not with us on the racetrack today. Instead, he's in the commentary box, and of course it is Joe, and I'm going to go, oh my god Joe, what are you doing in here? Joe, tell us, is it a power unit issue? Why have you joined us in the commentary box today?
It's actually a house issue. I'm currently not at my house, so I'm away, but I've got my Xbox with me, so I thought why not try and commentate if I can't race. So I'll still be in the action somewhat, but just watching this time.
And I've got to ask you, how painful is that to be sitting having to watch the action? I'm surprised you wanted to join me in the commentary box. It almost maybe rubs your nose in it a little bit more, is it not? Is that not the case, or are you just wanting to be involved in any way possible?
I just want to be involved. Of course it's a bit sour in a way that I'm not racing, but to be honest, I wasn't really thinking about the championship at all really. I was just going to have fun, so it's not really a big deal me not racing because it doesn't really affect me. I just would like to be involved, yeah.
Yep, well, it should be a cracking qualifying session then. We're here, of course, at Interlagos in Brazil, this incredible 15-turn circuit. A little bit of old school circuit. It's up there with the likes of Spa and Monza and Silverstone. Suzuka is one of those old school circuits that Formula One has visited for many years. Of course, it's got that incredible elevation change as you come sweeping up the hill and down that start-finish straight, down into that incredible Senna-S corner. It is one of my personal favourites and a lot of the drivers' favourites as well. And Joe, as a driver yourself, someone that's been racing all season long, how do you feel about the Brazilian circuit? Is it one of your personal favourites?
It's an enjoyable one, certainly, but it's not one of my strong tracks. I've always found it a bit difficult to get to grips with, especially the first few corners, which I think most drivers will find difficult, because it's just extremely hard to nail it perfectly. You can do a pretty consistent good laps, but to get that extra, to get on pole position, it's just so much harder. You have to go almost into a different level of ability.
Well, I've got to ask you then, and I'm sure you've done a little bit of practice perhaps as the week's gone on. What do you expect to be the pole time then? You're going to have Leopard, Danny, you're going to have Tyrrell Martin, the 3 title contenders, all battling it out here for the pole, amongst others. I mean, it is a very quick and tightly bunched field. Where do you think the pole time's going to be sitting around?
It should be around a low 1 minute 8, a 1 minute 8.1, 8.2, and I think that'll probably be done by Leopard. I'm not going to lie, he's probably the quickest driver on this grid from experience, but he's just not as consistent as the likes of Danny and Martin, which is why they're in front of him currently in the championship.
And you know, a lot of people have spoke about Leopard of late. Sometimes his driving, some say he's a bit erratic. When you say consistency, does that something that springs to mind, or do you think it's just he just makes too many errors on track at times? How would you put it down to?
He makes errors on track quite a bit, but he's an incredibly quick driver, so that kind of levels it out a bit. But he can make mistakes when wheel-to-wheel racing, I've noticed. But to be honest, he's got better as the game's gone on. So at the start of the game, he was a lot more erratic, as you said, than he is right now. So he's definitely learning, and he is, I think, 13. So that's like a year younger than me. When I was his age, I wasn't the cleanest driver at all. So he will learn, but it does take time.
It sure does, and TR Leopard at the moment then with 5.5 minutes roughly to go in this session. The first run's being completed, is the man on top at the moment with that 1 minute 8.684. He is around a tenth and a bit quicker than Danny M7 in second. TR Apex is third with EVR Reynolds in fourth. Mike Marshmallow fifth quickest thus far, usually a man that likes to come charging up through the field. We've seen that so many times from Mike this season. Langman is sixth, EVR more so, the man from Belfast is 7th, Dralix is 8th, Hayden 9th, and Bastek rounds out the top 10. Only K and WR King are the other drivers to complete a lap. We still await TRL Hamilton and TRL Martin to do a lap. And I think that moves us on with TRL Martin not doing a lap yet to that championship situation, and I think we need to get that right up for you right now. TRL Martin is the World Championship leader at the moment. He's got 120 points. He is 16 clear of the second place man, Danny M7, and that means if Martin wins tonight, he is champion unless Danny finishes second, and Danny can give himself the smallest possible chance of taking that title fight to the next race. Also still in the championship is TOR Leopard. He is 18 points off the lead at the moment, but he has to beat Martin today. If Martin wins the race, Leopard is out of it. So Martin, he knows he can eliminate Leopard regardless of what other people do today if he wins this race, but he can't quite eliminate Danny if he is second. So Martin going for the victory, I would think. So Danny second, 16 off the lead, and 18 off the lead is TOR Leopard. Then it's the man alongside me, Joe, of course, as we've just touched on, unable to race tonight, out with his control. He is fourth in the standings with 97 points. Then fifth in the standings is CRL Rosberg, who unfortunately decided to leave the series after the last race in Japan, which I've got to ask you, Joe, looks like a bit of a silly decision now after the few mishaps that Martin's had, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially considering Japan was a wet race, which is his strongest asset, and I really think he could have won that race. And if he'd done that, he would have been at the top of the championship, I'm pretty sure, or close to it. So yeah, it's a bit of a silly move, as you said. So I'm not really sure why he did it, because he was definitely still in the championship.
Do you think that shows that by quitting, backing out, it's never the right thing to do? You should always stay in the thick of the action right to the end, never give up. Is that how you behave as a driver? Is that how you or strive to be as a driver? Is that the best way to approach things?
Yeah, if you don't race, you're not going to win. If you do race, there's always a chance that you can. So that's how I go into most things. Like, there's always the chance if you do it, and if you don't take that chance, if you don't race, then you're not going to win anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll keep an eye and see if Sarah Rosberg joins us next season. He'll certainly be kicking himself to have not continued in this championship. Without doubt, as you've just mentioned, he could have been right in the hunt to contest near the sharp end. But I'm watching Hayden at the moment as he climbs the hill, the man who sent shockwaves through the Spa-Francorchamps circuit by almost putting himself into position to win that Grand Prix before the commentator's curse of myself struck him, and he ended up striking the back of CRL Hamilton in front of him when he was on course to what looked like a shock result. He did end up picking up a good 6th position, did Hayden, but you've got to admire Hayden. He has been a driver that's been fighting in the lower reaches of the top 10 all season long, but you know, that's exactly what he's not, a quitter. He battles hard in every single race to get every last point out of the car. Now, you've got to give Hayden a lot of credit. He might not be the quickest in the field, but certainly battles hard and tries to make the most of any situations that comes his way, doesn't he, Joe?
Yeah, he definitely does. I'm not really going to talk on my experiences with him because I'll keep that away from the commentary box. But he's definitely a decent driver and he has potential. Like, as you say, he's definitely consistent. He hasn't got the raw pace of the top 7, top 8 cars, but he can get into that position by the consistency in his racecraft, especially as in Belgium when he went onto the soft tyre, I believe, and that put him right in contention.
Well, I'll tell you who else has just put himself right in contention. Danny M7 with the quickest time so far, a 1 minute 8.490. He displaces Leopard at the top of the timesheets, but Leopard, I believe, is about to start a flying lap. We'll see what he can do. TR Apex currently still third, but Danny M7 has drawn first blood on the final runs. Is he going to go again, Danny M7? He has fueled that Force India for 2 late runs, so we'll see what Danny M7 can do as Leopard begins his second lap. We've just heard, of course, from Joe that he believes a low 1 minute 8 will get the pole time, and he firmly believes that you should put your money on TOR Leopard. We'll see how that plays out in the remaining moments of qualifying. TR Apex, I believe, is coming to the end of a lap. Is it an out lap? No, it is a quick lap. So what can the Toro Rosso do? They're both flying high in 3rd and 4th at the moment, Apex and Morceau, which is pretty solid for the Toro Rossos, who've been battling in the midfield all season long. Apex up to the line. Where is he going to go? He stays 4th quickest as EVR Reynolds pops himself up into P3. So Apex down to 4th with no improvement, more so in 5th. But we need to go back to Danny M7, who's coming into the pits. His session is up, and that is the target that they have to beat. So TOR Leopard climbing up the hill he goes in that Renault. What can he do? Can he continue to challenge in this championship? He's been in such a good string of results. He's been in great form. Here comes Leopard for the line. Is it pole? Yes, it is. By a tenth of a second, TOR Leopard snatches the pole. A superb effort from him. Now, where is TRL Martin? He's on the softs and is only second quickest at the moment. So he is going for a different strategy. I'm sure we'll hear from Joe in a few moments as to what that strategy might be. EVR Reynolds now, what can he do? He's around half a tenth down on his best through the second sector. Where can the Ferrari go? He's a full half second from pole. Leopard still on top. Danny is second. Here comes EVR Reynolds. The prancing horse gallops to the line. Where does he go? He stays the quickest, and there is no improvement there. Apex with another late run to the line. Is he going to improve? No, he stays fourth, and that, unless Martin does something very special, is going to be that. Martin on the soft compound tyre, surely going to be nowhere near the pole. He is up in his current best. It could be a top 4 or 5 place here. It's P4 for Martin on the soft compound tyre, and you have to say, that is a pretty decent effort, Joe, and I've got to ask you, what is going to be his strategy plan with that one?
Well, that's put Martin in a great position. If he can get Reynolds at the start, his 2 championship rivals are right in front of him. And on the soft tyre, after about 5 or 6 laps, he's going to be on the better tyre, and he'll be able to catch them and go longer. And then he'll be on better tyres at the end, which will help him, and he'll just be quicker at the end of the race. So I'm putting my money on Martin. It's going to be a tough one for him, but he's put himself in a great position so far.
Well, there you go. Expert analysis there from Joe, of course, was right in that championship hunt until today. And there you go, TRL Martin goes 4th quickest. Is that the biggest story of qualifying? But it is TOR Leopard, crucially, who is on pole position. Championship rival Danny M7 starts alongside TRL Martin, though, in that 4th place, ready to pounce on those soft compound tyres. And I presume it will be a straightforward one-stop race then, Joe, is that right? Softs to super softs and super softs to softs for the other guys.
Yeah, it should be an easy one-stop. I would be surprised if anyone tried a 2-stop because it's just going to be slower. And especially since there's a high chance of, let's say, slipstream glitch, then if you're behind another car, you've pretty much had it unless you have a complete pace advantage over the other car. So I'll be surprised if there is a 2-stop because it's generally slower. But yeah, someone might try it. If it's a wet race, it might rain in the race, we have no idea. So let's just wait for it to all unfold and see what happens.
Yep, we'll have a wait and see. It does look like it's relatively dry at the moment, no sign of rain, but you never know what's around the corner here in Brazil. It's the penultimate round of the championship. Will Martin win the title today? We'll find out as the lights go out. TOR Leopard leads them away on the run down to turn 1. It's a good start from Danny as he pulls alongside. He does more than pull alongside. He sweeps through and into the lead of the race. Through the Senna S they go. Out of shape was Danny M7. 2 by 2 they go through Curva de Sol and down towards the Skiro de Lago. Danny M7 still has the upper hand as Leopard tries to sweep right round the outside as they hit the brakes at the end of that first sector. Danny still in control, and it appears that he has got the crucial jump, and so it would seem as TRL Martin, he's up into 3rd place, and as Joe said, if he can get Reynolds off the line, he can see his 2 championship rivals right in front of him, and that, Joe, is exactly what he would have wanted to happen. Perfect start.
That's perfect for him because he's now right behind Leopard, and if he can stay close with them for these opening few laps, he will pounce them surely with his. He'll have a clear tyre advantage around lap 8, lap 9, and he'll just be able to get them when their tyres are dying, because those supers really do die. When they hit around 60%, they just drop off, and he'll be losing at least a second a lap. So it's a real pace advantage he can have.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see Martin playing the long game, qualifying 4th on the grid, but now should have the upper hand as EVR Reynolds tries to sweep round the outside of him into that first corner, puts a wheel on the grass. That might allow Mike Marshmallow to try and pounce on EVR Reynolds. A little bit of an error there from Reynolds, got a little bit too hot into that first corner, and now Mike Marshmallow in that Force India tucks himself into the slipstream behind the Ferrari on the run down to the end of that first sector. Into the Skiro de Lago they go. Mike Marshmallow round the outside of EVR Reynolds he goes. He's pushed wide there. Off the road he goes. That allows Apex to sweep through and take the 5th place away. Quite a squabble going on there, and that will only help Martin further in the early couple of laps where you would feel the super softs have an advantage. Martin's getting away as Mike Marshmallow retakes the place on TR Apex. They're banging wheels in the middle sector. Very few times this season you will see, or very few times ever, will you see battling here in this Brazilian circuit in the middle of the lap, but these guys are doing it, and Mike looks like he's retaliated and got that place back on TR Apex. Well, and ILR, let's be honest, you can battle on any corner, on any track, at any place, can't you, Joe? It's crazy.
That was a great move from Mike. He just sent it up the inside of Apex into, I'm not sure what that corner was, turn 8 I think it was, and he was so late on the brakes, Apex just did not see him coming. But I do think that was a bit harsh from Reynolds when Mike was going around his outside. He should have left a bit more room, in my opinion, but nothing's really changed. Mike's got back past Apex, so we'll just see what happens from now on.
Yeah, now Apex is coming straight back at Mike. This looks like an early taster for what's to come in this Grand Prix, and Apex has another look on Mike Marshmallow, unable to get that move done as they go sweeping down the hill and now climbing up towards the right-hander of Ferradura. A tricky corner, this one, isn't it? You tend to find yourself understeering wider and wider onto that curve. Is that one of the trickiest corners on the calendar, Joe, would you say?
It's one of, and I would not be surprised if we see a couple of penalties today from drivers just completely understeering and just getting warnings at that corner lap after lap after lap. It's a super tricky corner, especially on worn tyres, as these guys will struggle on their super softs. Martin not as much, because he's on the harder soft compound tyre, but later on he will also struggle. So I'll be surprised if there were onto a lot of penalties this race.
Further down the field, CRL Hamilton, he's been trying to charge through the field. He'd also started on those soft compound tyres as we lose Langman from the race, and CRL Hamilton was battling there with Murso and Dralex. He's had to come into the pits. He damaged his wing. He clipped one of them in that middle sector somewhere, so he's damaged his wing as Dralex and Murso go side by side, and the Canadian gets it done. Up to 7th he goes. Murso drops back into the clutches of Kay, and you know what? He can smell blood. He likes them vulnerable, just like Daniel Ricciardo. He's right on the tail of EVR Murso, but Murso's coming back at Dralex on the brakes, and he's diving up the inside of Dralex, and he's making it stick side by side. Great racing there, and Murso catches the Canadian napping and retakes 7th place. Dralex continues to fight, but he can fight no more, and from looking like losing a place to Kay, Murso makes one up with a great lunging manoeuvre on Dralex up the inside, and through he went. That was beautiful stuff from EVR Murso, wasn't it?
It was nice. I only caught the last bit of that because I was looking at Langman's DNF car, and I'm not sure, but I think he lost one of his rear tyres. I don't think it was, but his car was sort of like half in the air at the front, so I'm not sure if that was a glitch or whatever. But yeah, from what I saw, it was a really good move from Murso, and now if he can pull away from Dralex and this little train that is forming, he'll be able to keep that 7th position later on and maybe get...
Hold on, sorry to come across you there. TOR Leopard, very, very, very close to the back of Danny M7 going into turn 1. He was nearly making a move. He actually made slight contact with the rear of that Force India, and both these drivers know they have to win this race. At the moment, they're going to take a good slice out of Martin's lead. I mean, okay, over Danny, the lead is 16 points. If Danny wins the race and Martin finishes third, the gap is down to 6. So that means if Danny wins both races, he's champion with Martin third in this Grand Prix. So that is so important for Danny M7 to remain ahead of TOR Leopard, and these two know that they can't afford to squabble too hard, because as you've mentioned already, Joe, these tyres, these super soft tyres, are going to start to get past the sell-by date, and Martin is going to cruise onto their tail and start causing them some problems. And the other advantage, of course, for Martin is that the likes of Reynolds aren't chomping all over his tail at the moment, because they've been busy battling with one another. Reynolds, Mike, TR Apex, all squabbling, and that is only helping Martin further. And at the moment, his odds are shortening and shortening and shortening as CRL Hamilton picks up a 3-second time penalty. That is something we see very, very often indeed, and having damaged the front wing already and now picking up a 3-second time penalty, that is not going well for him. And I've got to ask you, Joe, a quick word on CRL Hamilton. How do you view him? Do you think he needs to be a little bit more disciplined at times? Or how do you view him as a driver?
Discipline's a very good word. He's a very quick driver when he wants to be, I think. He definitely has the pace, he just doesn't put his mind to it, I think. So he needs to focus more in his races, because a lot of the time it happens where he loses his front wing or something bad happens, he gets into an incident. If he needs to keep cool, and especially on his quali laps, he bottles a lot of quali laps, to put it bluntly, when he's actually got pace for the pole. So he needs to learn how to keep calm in a quali lap, not mess it up, so we can get into a good position and not have the chance of getting in a scrap with someone lower down the field who is quicker.
I've got to ask you this. I mean, a lot of people have told me, a lot of high-profile drivers have said that Sir Hamilton often, when he practices, is right up there with some of the best on this game. And is that true? I mean, have you practiced with him often? Is he often quicker than many others in practice? Is that true?
I've never practiced properly. I have in the past, but not recently. But from what I've heard, he definitely is one of the top guys in this game. And I've seen that on time trial. He's been top 5 on some tracks, and that's pretty hard to beat. So yeah, he definitely has all that potential, and definitely is a great driver. But he just needs to, as I said before, get into the zone more when he's actually driving in the actual league race, not like almost crack under pressure.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an interesting insight, Joe. It's always good to hear from the other drivers and what they think of their counterparts. It's great to have Joe, of course, in the commentary box with us tonight. One of the guys, of course, that was fighting for that World Championship, but obviously, as we've already touched upon, cannot race tonight due to unforeseen circumstances. So it's good to see that he can discuss his opinions on his rivals. And yeah, I think you've made a very fair point there about Cyril Hamilton. He has got that pace, that raw talent that you need, but he needs to try and transition that into the actual races as Hayden picks up a 3-second time penalty. Can he do that next season? I suppose this game's a write-off now. It's all about F1 2018 and what he can do, pardon me, on that current console. So we'll wait and see what he does. But I'm now riding on board with TLR Leopard, who is once again threatening the back of Danny M7's car into that first corner, yet again unable to make that move. At the same time, we've got TR Apex battling with Mike Marshmallow into turn, and he's going to try and sweep right round the outside and then down into the centre S. There's no way to do that, so now he will wait for a second bite of the cherry. He will have that DRS now. The Toro Rosso pulling alongside Mike Marshmallow, who will squeeze him, squish him like you would squish a marshmallow, right up to the edge of the circuit. But Apex dives up the inside, and Mike Marshmallow can defend no more. He's coming back, you know. He hasn't finished. Here comes Mike up the hill towards Ferradura. Can he go round the outside here? That would be very, very, very special if he can do that. He'll cut back to the inside. Oh, he's on the grass. They're touching wheels, and Mike's in a spin. And that was just a little bit too much for Mike, you have to say. Too opportunistic. He should have backed out of that much sooner. He now loses out to EVR, Merceau and Dralix as a consequence. And yeah, it was exciting to watch, but I think Mike tried to bite off more than he could chew. Is that not fair to say, Joe?
Yeah, he definitely did. He was very aggressive down the Rete Riposta. He squeezed Apex almost onto the grass and left no quarter left. And then he was just so aggressive, and he just tried diving it down the inside like he did before on Apex, actually, on lap 1, I think it was. But he just got it all wrong. Apex defended, and he'd already gone for it. So he got onto the grass and just sort of slid into him. Nothing he could have really done then, as it was the mistake was already made.
Yep, absolutely. And apologies for anyone watching the stream that has not got the tyre graphics up. I do now have them. I was keeping them on to the position changes early doors. But yeah, TRL Martin did start on those soft compound tyres. In case you're just watching, all those guys that have now fitted soft compound tyres have just made a stop from super soft. So that's Reynolds, Bastic, and Apex. In fact, has Bastic been in the pits? I'm not sure about that, has he? Yeah, no, he's not. No, he hasn't. So Reynolds, Apex, just been in the pits there for a set of soft compound tyres. Hamilton pitted earlier because, of course, he damaged that front wing early doors and put on the medium compound. And Martin, meanwhile, yet to make that pit stop on the soft compound. And actually, Joe, starting to make some inroads on the back of TOR Leopard. He's cut that gap down around 6/10 since I last looked a couple of laps ago. So, as you predicted, around lap 8, lap 9, lap 10, Martin's starting to make some inroads, isn't he?
Oh, Hamilton's gone.
Oh, let's have a look at that. Cyril Hamilton. Yep, he has crashed.
He's crashed at the, I'm not sure where that is.
Top of the
hill.
hill.
It's turn 7-8.
Yep, he's gone off into the wall. Cyril Hamilton, and his wretched season is going to come to a crushing, crashing end, it would seem. Well, he's got one more race to go after this one. But Cyril Hamilton joins Langman on the sideline, so out he goes. As AVR Reynolds moves back up into 5th place with Merceau and Dralix in the pits. Where will Apex be in relation to those guys? He should be ahead of them as Merceau comes out now behind that. So Merceau and Dralix come out in 8th and 9th places. And that is behind Apex as they were before the pit stops and behind AVR Reynolds. But Bastic currently in 6th position under a little bit of threat. He's also doing that TRL Martin strategy of going long on the soft compound tyre. And he did not quite qualify as high up as TRL Martin did, the championship leader, and he's now got Apex climbing all over his tail. Is he going to consider a move to our apex? Yes, he is, and that's a beautiful lunging move up the inside. Is he going to complete it? He is going to complete it, and on those fresh tyres, it's like candy from a baby. Through he goes. He wasn't interested in hanging around. It was brave, it was opportunistic, and he's up into P6. Joe, what do you make of that? There might have been a difference in the tyres, but still, good to make that move nice and early, wasn't it?
He just did what Mike tried doing on him, but he actually succeeded on it. So yeah, it was a pretty nice move from him. Of course, there is 11 lap tyre age difference, which is obviously going to help him. But still, it's not an easy move. It's still a good move to make as well. Into that corner, brake late. But make sure you don't lock up, or you'll just go straight on.
Yep, absolutely brilliant. Loved that move there from Apex as he dives up into 6th place, and he needs to try and haul in that gap to EVR Realms. It is around 5.3 seconds. It is a bit of a mission to reel that in. We'll see how he gets on. But let's go back to TOR Leopard and Danny M7, the two dueling out at the front of this Grand Prix. I've got to ask you, I've not really properly asked you this question yet, Joe. Of the three that are left in this championship fight, would it be fair to say that Terrell Martin's the man that will win it from here?
I don't think so, because I genuinely don't think he's the quickest driver out of the three. I think he's the most consistent by no shadow of a doubt, but he's not the outright quickest, which I think Leopard is, as Danny goes into the pits.
Yep.
So Leopard's not gone for the undercut, which is surprising. Leopard's lost it. That's going to give the position to Martin, is it? Yes,
oh, yes, it is. Yeah, there he goes. Martin is going to steal the place. Leopard makes a mistake, and you did say that. Leopard does make mistakes quite often, and there is a classic example. And Terrell Martin snatches the place away from TOR Leopard, and that could be crucial. You also mentioned there he didn't go for that undercut, and Leopard is now losing a place to Martin. The tyres perhaps have hit the cliff, or he's had some issues trying to keep them under the temperature, and he's lost the place. Martin up into the lead, but Danny M7 now crucially is in 3rd place, and he will probably resume that lead of the Grand Prix, and it will be between him and Martin, you feel, to get the victory. But Joe, that's the pleasure of having a driver in the commentary box. They know their opponents inside out, and you've basically summed it up. Leopard often makes mistakes, and that was a classic example, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and that mistake might even cost him a podium here, because Reynolds is only 2 seconds behind Danny. And with that mistake, Leopard's going to lose time. So Reynolds could jump Leopard here. It's going to be a close one, but he might be able to do it.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So TOR Leopard into the pits, and it might be interesting to see where Martin comes out in relation to Danny when he comes out. In relation to Reynolds. 3rd time lucky. When Martin comes out in relation to Reynolds as well. As Reynolds, is he going to get that position done? Here he comes into that first corner now. Where is TOR Leopard? He's on pit exit. It's going to be very, very, very close. Where is Leopard? There he is.
He's done
there
it.
Is Reynolds, and Reynolds has got that position, I think. Yes, just about. And you spotted that a mile off, Joe. Do you want to gig in the commentary box, mate? Great decision there. And through goes Reynolds. Great spot. And Reynolds takes that position from Leopard. Now the question is, when Martin pits, will he be ahead, or will he be behind those two? That's the next question. What do you think?
I'm honestly not too sure. And what's interesting is Reynolds, who pitted quite a bit forwards on the soft compound tyre, and Leopard and Danny are on the medium. So, or Leopard's just disconnected.
Oh, goodness gracious me, and that is a real shame.
That might be his championship over.
Yep. No, that's a real shame for TOR Leopard. His World Championship dreams are going up in smoke. We came into Brazil with 4 potential contenders. We're going to be leaving that half. One of them disconnecting TOR Leopard, the other one sitting in the commentary box alongside me, and it looks like we're going to be down to just 2 title contenders. Leopard rejoins, but I fear the damage might already be done, especially if Martin wins the race. He hasn't won it yet, Martin, but it's certainly going to be real damage for Leopard's championship hopes. I'm not going to call him out of it yet. You never know what can happen in Formula 1, so we'll keep an eye on that. But it looks like TOR Leopard's championship dreams are going up in flames, and it's slowly becoming a tussle between Danny and Martin. And that will, by the way, not please Danny to see Leopard in problems, because if Leopard managed to get himself between Martin and Danny, all Danny would have had to do was win the final race, and whatever Martin did wouldn't have mattered. But now Martin's going to be second behind him, he's going to have to hope that Martin, if he wins in Abu Dhabi, Danny, is not second. He'll have to hope that Martin's third or lower. So not going to please Danny
Martin's
either.
in the pits.
That's good news for Martin, as Martin now makes the call for the stop. But I've just said that, of course, if Martin finishes second, it's not good for Danny. But what about EVR Reynolds? EVR Reynolds could find himself getting himself involved in that. He did say, when I spoke to him in the group chat, or as I like to say in the paddock, that he could get involved in this scrap, and he might just do that. So Martin on the exit of the pits, where is EVR Reynolds? And you know what? EVR Reynolds is going to be comfortably ahead of TRL Martin. So there you go. Danny M7 will be hoping and praying that EVR Reynolds can stay ahead of TRL Martin to help Danny's championship aspirations as things stand with 21 laps to go. Martin will lead the championship, but crucially, it will be in Danny's own hands. He will win both races, he will win the title. He won't have to rely on anything unless Martin gets up into that second place. So we'll keep an eye on that battle. We've got a long way to go in this race, but there is plenty to play for. Danny leads on the medium, Reynolds second in the softs, Martin in third on the medium compound tyre. What do you think EVR Reynolds is trying? Is he going to try a two-stop perhaps, Joe, by going to softs? Or can he get into the end?
I just can't see him trying the two-stop. It's just not going to be quicker. But who knows? We've had some shocks this season. We might have another one here. But I'm not sure. Mine's going to probably cruise onto the back of him as the laps go past, because Reynolds' tyres are going to be very second best later on. He pitted lap 8, I think.
Yeah.
So what's that, 28 laps in softs? That's quite a lot. I'm not even sure if the mediums could go that far.
So that,
let alone the softs.
So that basically says he is going to two-stop then, doesn't it? That's basically what we believe then. So Pirelli, I'm pretty sure, will be saying, no, Reynolds, get yourself into the pits. We don't want to see a tyre exploding. That doesn't look good for us when we're trying to sell tyres to our paying customers. So they might say to Reynolds to get himself into the pits, of course, doesn't have to do that, but EVR Reynolds might find himself into the pits for a second stop at some point and maybe try and charge back through the field towards Martin. But you're telling us, Joe, that you don't believe that is the ultimate strategy. You believe that would be considerably slower than that one stop. Is that correct?
Absolutely, because it's not horrifically slower, but the fact he's going to be behind other cars as well and have to work his way back up the field, that's just going to cost him too much time for it even to be a viable strategy option. So I would be shocked if he does the two-stop. And as I was saying, Martin, he's half a second behind him now.
Yeah, and he is, and he's just pumped in the new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Martin can smell blood. Will he feel the need to make this move? Will he wait for Reynolds to make a second stop? I suppose he'll try and make that move and apply some pressure to Danny. I'm sure Martin wants this championship battle ended as quick as possible. I don't think it's going to end here, because remember folks, if you're just tuning in, even if Martin wins this race, if Danny is second, the championship goes down to the final race of the season. So he needs Danny to be outside the top two spots if Martin wins this race to clinch the title here, and at the moment that does not look likely. Danny is well positioned to at the very least not win this Grand Prix, as we now watch Martin goes right onto the back of EVR Reynolds. There are a few good overtaking opportunities on this. Make one, of course, down into turn 1 or the end of that first sector down into the Schiera del Lago. Two very good overtaking opportunities. We've already seen moves being made. In fact, but often when those moves have been made, it's been down to quite a difference in the tyre life. So here comes TRL Martin onto the tail of EVR Reynolds. There is a difference in tyre life between these two, so Martin tries it somewhere else. He's going up the inside. Apologies for any lag that you're witnessing at the moment as Reynolds clings on for now. Martin can really sense a chance here to move up into second. Cover the sole they go, and down this long back straight towards the end of that first sector. Is Martin going to try and put one on Reynolds? He tries the outside line, Reynolds covers it off, holds on for now in that second place, but surely, Joe, it's a matter of time before he takes that place away.
The time you can even see how much more grip Martin's got. He can just go so much later on the brakes than Reynolds, and I would not be surprised by the end of this lap if he's a diving move.
Wait and see. Apologies for any lag. Even Joe's starting to lag on for me a little bit. It smooths itself out, folks. Apologies for that, but we are at the halfway point of this Grand Prix, and it is still Danny M7 in the lead. EVR Reynolds second as the lag appears now to be smoothed out. hopefully. No, not quite, but Martin right in position now behind ILR Reynolds to try and make a move into turn 1. Is this where he strengthens his grip? That World Championship crown, he's ducking and diving, looking left, looking right, diving up the inside of ILR Reynolds, and is he finally ahead? Reynolds clings on for dear life, forces Martin onto the curb, they go side by side, almost touching wheels through turn 3, as they now go hurtling down this back straight. Is Martin finally going to get the move done? No, he's not, and Reynolds now continues to hold that second place. Brilliant defensive driving from Reynolds, but surely he goes. And the more this continues, the more that will allow Apex, Leopard and Dralex to all close back in, and that will continue to mount a little bit of pressure on Martin to get the move done, because they are coming at this pair very quickly indeed, Joe, aren't they?
They indeed are, and Reynolds has got some serious straight line speed. Even with DRS, you just saw how Reynolds just pulled alongside Martin and just went down that straight. So it's going to be really tough for Martin to get past. He's going to have to send an almighty dive bomb, frankly, if he wants to get past this Ferrari. Because the straight line speed Reynolds had down that straight was just stupid.
Again, Martin's going to have to try once more. We might have issues with slipstream. I don't know if Andy's left the session. Martin tries the outside now on Reynolds, and again he's denied. Meanwhile, behind that, TR Leopard crucially makes a move on TR Apex, and will now begin the hunt of TRL Martin and ILR Reynolds. What can Leopard do? Can he get there before Martin makes a move on Reynolds? He might make that move now, TRL Martin. He's going to try and go round the outside of Reynolds. Again, Reynolds defends the inside, and again he clings on to that second place. And surely Leopard will start clawing at the gap like any Leopard should. And he's in 4th place at the moment, 3.6. That's one to watch as Martin continues to be frustrated behind that extremely wide and fast and a straight line Ferrari. Reynolds still holding on, still determined to get involved in this championship fight, even if he's not in it mathematically. He wants to be the man causing the issues for everyone else, a bit like Vitaly Petrov back in 2010 when he held up Alonso's championship charge. Is that what ILR Reynolds is doing here? Pretty hard to argue with. It looks like it, but he's finally out of shape, struggling for grip, and Martin finally looks like he's got that move done on ILR Reynolds. Is he going to get it done though? Reynolds continues to fight hard, fight like a lion. The prancing horse tries to gallop back onto the tail of the Server, but those tyres have ran out of grip and he's run out of luck. And Martin is up into 2nd place, and now he can begin the charge of Danny M7. Will he get there? He does have fresher tyres, but the gap is 2.6 seconds as Reynolds. Look at the straight line speed. Look at this. He's coming back at Martin on the brakes and can't quite get that move done. But wow, he really does have some serious straight line speed, Reynolds, and it took him running out of grip on those tyres to get Martin ahead, didn't it, Joe?
Certainly did, and as I said, the straight lines that Ferrari has, he must be running stupidly low downforce, because you could just see in the corners he did not have any grip whatsoever, and Martin was all over him. The big circuit's so narrow, he just couldn't get past until Reynolds made that slight error, which gave Martin the opportunity to get into 2nd place. But now Leopard is less than 2.5 seconds behind Reynolds, so he's not out of this, Leopard. He still has a chance.
Yep, he still has a chance, and it looks like his championship will remain alive for another week, unless of course Martin goes on to win the race. It doesn't look like he will. As it's there's 18 TRL Martin and Leopard at the moment. That's about to go up by 6 to 24, and that's still by the skin of his teeth keeps Leopard in this World Championship battle. It means we will still have 3 in contention going into the final race as things stand, and that is a great advert for the league. But can TR Leopard do anything about ILR Reynolds in the laps that remain? And of course Reynolds, we believe, or we think, might have to stop again. We don't know if he can go the whole distance on the soft compound. Joe has told us that he doesn't even know if the mediums could do a full 28 laps we thought, to get to the end. So if Reynolds could do that in the softs, it would be something of a miracle. So surely a second stop is beckoning for that Ferrari driver. We'll see if he does do that, and then Leopard might have to start thinking about what's happening behind him. I mean, if Reynolds does make that second stop, Joe, I mean, how far do you think he could go up through the field? What would you say?
If he does make his second stop, I reckon he could get around Apex. He'll be right behind Apex. Well, end of the race, I reckon, if he went onto the super soft tyres once again. Especially if Apex is on the soft, so he might be
coming in now.
Copying Reynolds' thing.
Well, there you go then. We'll see what Reynolds can do. He's speeding coming into the pits, and that will cause a few people to breathe a sigh of relief later on in this Grand Prix. So a 5-second penalty of EVR Reynolds. He actually locked up there on the way into the pit lane. He was all 4 tyres locked up on the way in, and as a result, he's gained the 5-second time penalty. It was all in vain, that heavy braking into the pit lane, and he is back on his way, and he might get up to around the apex. We'll see how he goes, Joe, with that prediction. But yep, he has come in for that second stop, and that releases Leopard now to see if he can start closing back in on Martin and Danny. And you have said yourself that Leopard is the quickest driver at the moment between those three. With having slightly older tyres, is it going to be an uphill challenge for him, do you think, to get up to the back of Martin and Danny? Is that asking too much, do you feel?
With the worn tyres, I reckon it'll be very hard to catch them, because I'm just watching Martin's interval to Danny, and last lap he caught Danny by 8 tenths on that one lap, and he's caught him by as much on this one as well. He's now got the DRS behind Danny, so it'll be very hard for Leopard. But if they start battling, and then Leopard, he is a supremely quick driver, he can catch them. And also to note on that, Danny's got 2 corner cutting warnings, so he's just 1 away from the penalty.
Oh, so that is also going to be interesting. Can you fill me in on Martin? Has he got any warnings? What's the story with him?
He has 1 warning.
Oh, wow.
I'll just check Leopard's.
Finely balanced then. Yep, let me know when you've got Leopards up there.
Leopard has 2 warnings as well.
Oh yeah, okay, so when it comes to penalties then, it all favours TRL Martin. He's only got the 1 warning. Danny and Leopard have got 2 each, and of course, for anyone that doesn't know, 3 warnings, 3 strikes, and you get hit with a 3-second time penalty. So that certainly could be a factor in this Grand Prix. We obviously hoping in the commentary box that it does not come down to that situation at all. Joe, I know we like to see good racing, but as a driver here in the championship fight, how much would you like the 3 of them to all crash out in the one corner and continue to be in the championship hunt?
That was on my mind just coming into this race. I was like, well, even if they crash, I'm still in it. So, I don't know. It would be quite funny, wouldn't it?
Well, there you go then. The racing heart is still beating inside Joe, there's no doubt about that. He might be in the commentary box today, but there's no doubt about it. He wants to see the 3 of them off the road in a colossal shunt, giving himself still a chance at that title. We'll have to have a laugh at that, and see if it does happen. It will be absolutely hilarious, as you say, but it's obviously not what I want to see, not what ILR would want to see in any stretch at all. But we'll see what happens as TRL Martin now continues his assault of Danny M7. Look at this, he's right on his tail now, 3 and a bit tenths, but as we've seen already, Joe, it is very difficult to overtake. We've seen the difference in tyres between Reynolds and Martin. We saw how long it took Martin to get ahead of him, and it even actually took a mistake, and Danny's not on tyres as bad as that, so this could be very tricky for Martin, couldn't it?
It is, but he is all over him. He's caught him by 2 seconds in the last 3 laps, and he is very close to him. He's less than 2 tenths behind him, and that's the sort of area where you can look for an overtake, even with the slipstream glitch. So I reckon he's just going to send it into turn 1 right now.
Here he goes then, TRL Martin on the attack. Is he going to sweep up the inside? Yes, he is! Up against the wall! And Martin makes the move stick. That was incredibly aggressive into turn 1. Martin is through. Danny drops to second. They were banging against the pit wall there, the 2 of them. That was borderline stuff. Danny M7 knows his championship really matters here. He needs to continue to fight this. Leopard's title challenge is dying here with that move, and Martin takes the lead away and strengthens his grip on the World Championship. If Danny stays second, he stays in the championship hunt, but barely. So that is a crucial move there for Martin. He can basically smell the World Championship trophy. Oh, dearie me. I think we should maybe consider putting the game in the post to Martin. Remember, the winner gets F1 2018. I think we should lick the stamp and send it, Joe. What do you think?
I think we should, because it's going to be a 24-point lead. Martin will have over Danny, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty much a DNF for Martin if Danny has any chance of getting it, and he would have to still win the race. But who knows, there's still 10 laps left and anything could happen. Martin could get a penalty, or Leopard, who is catching, he's caught by 2 seconds over the last couple of laps to Danny. He still could do something if Martin makes a couple of mistakes. And if Danny can stay within DRS, although Martin's tyres are a couple of laps younger, Martin's tyres could overheat, or something like that could happen, as it's happened to me before, and you just lose all grip in the tyre, no matter what percent they're on. If they overheat too much, then you just lose all sort of grip, and then the car behind's just going to have you. There's no way of it.
Another thing we should consider, Joe, is that Martin is a pad user. Could you maybe explain to the viewers the difference between pad and wheel? Is the wheel much easier on the tyres than the pads? Could you maybe explain to the viewers about that situation?
The wheel is very good on the front tyres mainly. It's sort of even on the rear tyres, maybe a bit worse on the wheel. But as the game's gone on, the wheel users have learned how to like sort of manage the rear tyres. So at the start of the game, I was horrible at managing the rear tyres. We'd get like 70% rears, like 30% fronts. I'm not even joking. But on the pad, you get quite bad front tyre wear as Danny's going into the pits.
Oh, what's this? Is this a roll of the dice from Danny? Is he trying something different? All of a sudden, we're seeing two stops here, and this is going to surely drop him behind EVR Reynolds as Danny comes into the pits. What kind of tyres are he putting on? It's quite clearly the super soft compound. So is he going to try something different to win the race? Does he feel that Martin might not get to the end on those mediums, given he's a pad user? Surely he will, though. He started in the soft compound. Why is Danny trying that, Joe? What do you think?
Well,
hold on.
the only reason I can see him doing it is...
Oh, it's very close. Hold on there. I'll come to you in a moment. As Reynolds, it looks like he's ahead of Danny as well. Is he? Yes, he is on the brakes. And Reynolds has got the jump on Danny, but Danny on the fresh compound, eases past him, back up into that third place. I thought it would be close on the exit. It was indeed. And through goes Danny up into third. He needed that move, and through he goes. So sorry. Back to you, Joe. What were you going to say?
Danny got very lucky there. Reynolds left him a lot of room and sort of went deep as well while doing that. It just gave him the opportunities to get past him. But yeah, as I was saying, he's gone onto the super, I reckon, to like put pressure on Martin, because Martin knows now that it's all under control. If it stays like this, I think Martin's won the championship. So he's done that knowing if he finishes second, there's not really a chance of him winning. So there is a slight chance, but it's almost unlikely that's going to happen. But he's just done it to like try and put pressure on Martin and Leopard, force Martin into a two-step as well, to try and get the position. That's what I reckon he's done. He's got not much to lose.
How likely is it Martin would do that though? Very unlikely? Do you think he would get to the end? Do you think he'd get to the end?
I reckon he'll get to the end. But it wouldn't be the first time this season we've seen Martin get a last at that puncture, would it?
No, it wouldn't be, but given he started in the softs, it seems less likely that he would. But we'll see what happens. So TRL Martin then, on the medium tyre with 7 laps to go. Can he keep it on the island? Can he keep the tyres in the zone to go on to what would I think be the championship, would it? Let's have a think then. Leopard 18 behind, 7 lost means it's 25 points. Who's won more races? I would think TRL Martin would win the championship today, because on countback, TOR Leopard would not be able to overtake him. I am not going to confirm that yet. I am going to have a quick look at the drivers' standings at the moment. TRL Martin has won 3 races. This would be his 4th. TOR Leopard has only won 1 race up till now, so that is correct. As things stand, TRL Martin is the world champion. So Danny M7's decision to pit could rob us, quite literally rob us, of a contest for this World Championship at the final race in Abu Dhabi. If you could call it a contest though, that's the thing. So Danny has put all of his eggs in one basket. He has decided at 24 points with only 25 available is not worth it. Let's try and force the issue here, see what we can do, and hopefully he's praying that Martin or Leopard fall off the road on the tyres, but it's very unlikely, and surely Martin is going to seal the title, isn't he, Joe?
Yeah, it does look that way, although Danny has just taken a second and a half out of them both on his fresh tyres. And Leopard, he's less than 3 seconds behind Martin, and I don't think any of them have a penalty. So if Martin gets the penalty, and I think he's still on one warning, so I'm not sure if he will, but that'll put a spanner in the works for sure. And Danny is catching at a fast rate of knots, and him and Leopard pitted around the same time. So if Danny's had to pit to put on new tyres, surely Leopard's tyres aren't going to be very good at all, and they'll be very much worse for wear.
Well, we've got Apex and Reynolds going side by side through turn 1 and 2. Great battle there. Reynolds clinging on that two-stop strategy. Apex right up behind him as they go hurtling down towards the end of that first sector. Is Apex going to try and sweep right round the outside of him? He's going to try his best, but we've seen how Reynolds defends up to this point, and he defends very well and holds off TR Apex once again. A cracking battle going on there for fourth position, but as you say, it's still finely balanced. There's every chance Martin could get a penalty. He could disconnect. We've seen it all already this season, but at the moment he's got it under control. He's stroking it home. If Leopard can try anything he's got up his sleeve to try and find the time to catch Martin, we'll wait and see. It looks unlikely. We've got 5 to go. It's Martin leading and winning the championship as it stands, from TOR Leopard in second, Danny M7 is third, and EVR Reynolds is fourth, but only just ahead of TR Apex in fifth. It's Stralex sixth, it's EVR Morsel in seventh, with Mike Marshmallow, Hortney Seals in eighth, Hay is ninth, and Bastek is currently getting the final point. Hayden 1.2 behind. Might have something to say about that as we continue to watch EVR Reynolds battling hard with TR Apex into turn one. Is Apex going to try again on the outside? He switches back to the inside and through he goes, up the inside into fourth position. Reynolds continues to fight it. Can he fight it much more? He's off the road, is Reynolds, as he goes sweeping down through the centre. There's contact there, and Reynolds damages his wing and has it the mother of all slides, and somehow keeps the car pointing in the same direction. I don't know how he did that, but he's going to have Dralix all over him now, and he's got damaged front wing, doesn't he? How did you view that one, Joe?
I'm not really sure exactly what happened directly, because there was a tiny bit of lag on my screen, so I'm not going to put the blame on either driver, but Apex definitely didn't leave him a lot of room, especially on the outside there. And as I cut into Reynolds, he was fully off the track getting pushed off. So I'm not really sure. He probably was going to lose the position to Apex anyway as that laps go on, because he is on the older, and I'm not sure what tyres he's on because they keep changing on my screen as this game is. But either way, he was definitely losing time to Apex. So it's sort of inevitable that was going to happen. So I'm not sure it's too big of a problem. But now he has got Dralex catching him, his teammate. So we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, Dralex going right onto the tail now of EVR Reynolds, and surely that will be a position for Dralex. The Canadian should get that move done on EVR Reynolds in the next few laps. Yeah, although Reynolds has proven how difficult he is to overtake with that damaged front wing, you have to feel that in that middle sector in particular he will be struggling. Dralex as well on the super soft tyres, and Reynolds now frustrated of course with that wing damage, gets a 3-second time penalty, and there you go, he lets his teammate go. What is the point of fighting it? And he's going to try and send Dralex on a charge to try and get to Apex. I think that would be an uphill task, but better letting his teammate go than fighting for it. So Dralex moves up into fifth. It's a shame for Reynolds. He was looking good earlier on in the Grand Prix, but that two-stop strategy simply wasn't going to work for him, and it looks like it's going to be the case for Danny M7 as well. 10 seconds now behind TOR Leopard. He's running out of laps. He's closing the gap, not closing it as quickly as he was. And of course, as I mentioned, he's only got 3 laps to do it, so it's looking good for TRL Martin at the moment. Leopard is trying his very, very best to close it in, but as you said already, Joe, you said it way earlier on in the stream, and I think what you said has just played out perfectly here. Leopard, a man that is very, very quick, probably the quickest of the 3 drivers in this fight, but he often makes mistakes. He made one in this Grand Prix today. Whether that was the decisive moment or not, we'll have to wait and see. I suppose he did disconnect at one point. You could argue that that was also a decisive moment. But TRL Martin, he has been so consistent in this Grand Prix. He's put in the laps, softs to mediums. It's worked to perfection, and the pad runner looks like he's going to come away with this championship at the moment, doesn't he? And it's been a great drive from him, and a deserving winner should it be the case.
Yeah, it certainly does. He deserves it. If anyone, he didn't join at the start of the season, so he's got one race less than Leopard and Danny. So he's done a fantastic job. He's been unlucky with Bahrain, etc. But he's just shown why he's an AOR champion, of course, and why he's going to win the first ever ILR Xbox Championship, as it seems it's going to happen, because Leopard hasn't got any left in the tank, as it seems.
Yeah, he's tried his best, TOR Leopard. I mean, you have to feel for him a little bit. I mean, obviously, everyone's had their issues this season. Danny, of course, right back in that opening round of the season, was on pole position, and he and Alonso came together, and it ended up being a disaster for Danny that afternoon. You could look back at TRL Martin in the last race, and Martin Has he got a puncture? I don't believe it. He has got a puncture. Martin, oh my goodness me. The championship has been blown wide open once again. Martin's got a puncture and his championship dream is falling apart once again. We were talking about the crowning moment and now he's got a puncture. Martin will be absolutely furious. He's left the session in disgust. TOR Leopard takes the lead. Danny up to second. Martin dropping like a stone. I'm going to cry for the guy. I can't believe it. Martin, for the second time this season, gets a puncture and his race is ruined. The championship has been thrown up into the air and upside down. I can't believe this. Leopard takes the lead and all of a sudden the championship is blowing wide open, Joe. What has just taken place? Whew. Wow.
I think he just turned his Xbox off because he went offline 1 minute ago. So I think he's just gone and turned his Xbox off, and I probably would have done the same thing because that is devastating once again for Martin. It's at the very end of the race. He's got another puncture, and I think I spoke too soon saying he was going to win the championship. Because now it's literally in Leopard's hands now. But who knows, the Leopard could get a puncture because his tyres are even older than Martin's.
I don't believe this. He could, you know, he could get a puncture. He's nearly there. But TRL Martin, why did he not try and continue? He might have got something. I suppose he probably wouldn't have got anything from the race. But TOR Leopard, in the most crushing of circumstances, is going to deliver not quite a knockout blow, but a hefty blow to his championship rival TRL Martin. He and Danny M7 have just opened the World Championship wide open again. Martin was a moment away from glory. Now it's going to Abu Dhabi. TOR Leopard incredibly wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. Danny M7 is second and TR Apex is going to be third. But the big story to take away from this Grand Prix is that TRL Martin was a few miles from glory. He's now right back in the thick of a championship battle and he might not even be the favourite anymore. What an incredible story we have here in Brazil. Leopard wins, Danny second, Apex third, Dralex fourth, Reynolds fifth, Mike is going to hit the line sixth with Morsel seventh, K eighth, Hayden ninth, just ahead of Bastic for 9th and 10th, but oh my goodness gracious me, Martin will be furious, to say the least. The Pirelli tyres have given up on the guy, and I am so sorry for him. I cannot believe what has happened, and I think it's time we have a quick lie down after that. TOR Leopard stands on the podium. I don't think he knows whether to celebrate or not. What an incredible end to the race. We saw Lewis Hamilton didn't celebrate too much when Bottas got a late puncture. TOR Leopard ain't in the same team as Martin. He couldn't care less, and he celebrates in style with a fantastic victory. A victory that, believe it or not, puts him atop of the World Championship. It's only his second win this season. He only just won his first race last time out, and all of a sudden, Leopard is now the championship leader. TOR Leopard wins then from Danny M7 in second. TR Apex picks up third. The Ferraris of Dralex and Reynolds were fourth and fifth. Mike Marshmallow picked up sixth. It was seventh for EVR Morsel and the Toro Rosso. Kay brought it home in eighth. TSR Bastic just beat Hayden to that ninth place, and Hayden in the end did get a point because his teammate TRL Martin ended up with a late race puncture while leading and collected no points at all. What an absolutely incredible development here in this ILR1 Xbox season, which just continues to throw up the most incredible results week in, week out, and yet again we have been hit with an absolute shock. We were 3 or 4 miles away from crowning a champion, and all of a sudden the tyre went pop. The title race went wide open as a firework blew it open the same way Martin's tyre blew on his title party. The champagne remains on ice, and we have got Danny M7, we have got TR Apex in here. Do we have TOR Leopard? Can we get a hold of TOR Leopard? I'm going to try and do that. Yes, we do. There he is. What a race. Breathless finish. And let's first of all go to TOR Leopard, who all of a sudden, 1 minute looked like the championship was over. A few moments later, it was alive, and Leopard Your thoughts? You're now the championship leader.
I've just had one of the biggest outbursts, I think. It's another way to describe it, I don't know. But yeah, compared to last week, I'm happy. I think that's fair to say. I was just praying on the fact Martin would have penalties, or the puncture. I literally said, I think, out of turn 3 on that exact lap, all I can hope for, I said to myself, all I can hope for is Martin getting a puncture, and then a few corners later he did, and he fouled the points.
Wow. Wow.
And
I mean,
my internet was having none of it as well.
wow. I mean, how do you feel? Have you ever celebrated a victory as much as you've just celebrated one there?
Nope, not as much as I did then.
Can I ask you, how exactly did you celebrate that one? Were you running around the house, or were you just shouting like an idiot, waking the neighbours up? How did you react?
Just shouting yes multiple times.
Well, I have to say, incredible. I mean, that is quite a contrast from last week, Leopard, it has to be said. I mean, I don't think I've ever experienced as big a contrast from week to week in interviews in my life. I mean, last week you were depressed, you didn't want to talk to me. I felt offended by that. Not really.
Oh,
but yeah,
sorry.
now you've won this race, and I'm sure it's TRL Martin that's feeling the way you felt last week. I'm sure you have some thoughts for him. What do you have to say about him?
I don't know. I mean, it's a shame for him, but it's easy for me to feel sorry in a way. It's easy for me to say stuff that I'd obviously say, but obviously Martin's probably in a difficult position right now after what's just happened. So yeah, I'm not wording that very well at all, probably, but
I get the impression you don't really care.
It's a shame. It's a shame for him. We'll put it that way.
Right, okay, well, congratulations then on the win, Leopard. I've got to ask you now, do you feel that you can win this championship next week? You've got to go in now as title favourite, is that fair to say?
I mean, I guess. I mean, I'm leading the championship, so I guess I could put it that way. Yeah, I think I can win it, obviously.
And what about Abu Dhabi? Is that a track where you run well at? Is it one that you think you've got a pace advantage on the other guys on? You've certainly been in fine form of late, not just of course in ILR and AOR as well. Is this the moment? What do you think? Abu Dhabi, is it a track that suits you?
We'll see.
Oh, okay. We'll see. Well, a man of not very many words last week, not in the greatest of moods. This week in a great mood, but you wouldn't be able to tell because he's a man of very few words, and he's keeping his cards close to his chest going into that race next week in Abu Dhabi. He doesn't want to talk it up, he doesn't want to talk it down, he just wants to get the work done on the track, do the talking afterwards. So well done to TRL Leopard. He has won this race. Commiserations to TRL Martin, it has to be said. Let's now move on to the man that finished this Grand Prix in second position, Danny M7. Well, Danny, it's once again a split opinion for you this week, I suppose. A one you could have won perhaps, but at the same time, you're right back in the championship, aren't you?
Yeah, well, considering on lap 30, 34, 33 that I was going into Abu Dhabi with no chance of winning the championship, and now I believe I'm 5 points behind Leopard. So, yeah, the exact reason why I picked for super soft tyres was to avoid what Martin got, and so I don't like, obviously commiserations is fine, but I feel as though like I've earned it. You know, still earned this second place because I made a bold decision that I was throwing away, you know, what would have been a championship fight into Abu Dhabi to. You know, I just tried something and it worked in the end. It's a shame that if I did one more lap earlier, I think I would have got Leopard. But you can't say things like that. It is what it is, and just looking forward to Abu Dhabi now and try and focus on that, because yeah, I think I could have won that race, but I wasn't quick enough because I was trying to tyre save too much, and then eventually I bailed out at the end. But we'll see what happens in Abu Dhabi.
Well, what do you think, Danny? Do you think you were as critical as Martin on tyres? I know you don't know Martin's situation with tyres. I know that's difficult for you to answer, but Do you feel that you had to make that pit stop, or do you feel you could have got to the end of trying to defend Leopard off? How do you feel about that? Do you feel now you regret it, or do you feel as if it was still the right decision given what's happened to Martin?
I mean, in hindsight, yes, but looking at the lap times, Leopard was, I think he did a 1:15 last lap and I did a 1:11, so there was a massive difference, and I still think I made the right call, because I know Martin, again, he pitted 3-4 laps later than me, but I still think that that could have happened to me still, because I was pushing kind of to keep behind it first, so I still don't regret the decision, because if I got a puncture, I would have, because I did think about it, and if I got the puncture, I would have been just regretting not doing it. So, and look where it's got us. I mean, I'm still in the championship fight. I'm going to absolutely go for it in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, absolutely, Danny. I mean, I think it was the wise man call from you, and I've got to credit you for that. I mean, a lot of people would go for broke and with the racer's instinct, and you could say that's what Martin's done. He's done it twice this season, you could argue. Bahrain, he argued. Well, in Bahrain, he blamed himself. He said he took too much out of the tyres. This race, he maybe hasn't taken too much out of the tyres. Maybe he's just not thought about the consequences of not pitting. So, yep, it's a shame for Martin. There's no doubt about that. But it's a strategic game, isn't it? You have to try and play the percentage game at times, even in the heat of battle, don't you?
Yeah, just to clear up, I'm not obviously very happy that Martin's been having his punctures. Obviously, commiserations to him, but I still feel as though I'm trying to say, like, I still feel as I've earned it. I'm not trying to, say that he deserved getting the punctures, if you know what I mean. Just to clear that up in case anyone thinks that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I understand what you're getting at. You're basically trying to say that at the same time, I could have had those punctures, but I've made the decision to come into the pits. I understand what you mean. It's sometimes it's not always about being the quickest out there. It's sometimes about strategy as well. And in the end today, that decision by you to not take a risk, when arguably you should have been the man taking the risk, not Martin, you have to say. It's paid off for you. So well done, Danny, on that second place, and you go into this final round with a real chance of winning this championship. You all have a real chance. I've a quick calculation here. I can't confirm if this is actually correct or not, but James has kindly given us the standings in his absence. He says that he believes it's Leopard 127, Danny 122, and Martin 120. He says he could be wrong, but he thinks that's right. And I tell you what, if that is right, that means if whoever wins the Grand Prix out of those three drivers wins the championship. That is the perfect finale for a commentator, for a neutral like myself. That would be brilliant, and I can't wait for next weekend to see how that unfolds. But I must now move on to the man who's been sitting extremely patiently to get his word in, and that is TR Apex. A fine podium result for yourself today, Apex. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm absolutely chuffed with it, to be honest. Going into this race, I wasn't expecting much, just was hoping for points. And yeah, it's just a pretty lonely race, to be honest. Just had two encounters with Reynolds and Mike Marshmallow, but yeah, a bit of contact with Reynolds, but I think it was a bit of desync on my screen. There wasn't any contact, I just looked behind and he was gone. So I was looking forward to the battle with him, but yeah, chuffed with a P3.
Yeah, you were getting your elbows out early doors, so you were fighting hard with Mike, as you said, and of course with Reynolds later on in the race. But yeah, there's actually Joe alongside me in the commentary box, and he wasn't quite sure. He believed as well that there was a possibility that it was some lag or desync, and that's exactly what you're saying it was. I mean, it was quite close into turn one. It was good to watch, and then obviously in the exit of the corner you had your issues. But yeah, perhaps it was a desync. I suppose the stewards will look at it or whatever. If Reynolds wants to report it, we'll wait and see. So obviously he suffered front wing damage and dropped behind his team there after that. But all in all, though, you've got to be pleased. Onto the podium, you weren't expecting it, as you say, and all of a sudden you're tasting champagne. And Toro Rosso, I'm not sure about constructors, but I'm pretty sure you were in with a chance in the constructors, and that third place will give you a good help as well, especially with Martin having his issues as well with that late puncture. You should be right in the hunt now.
Let's hope we are.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye and see how close that will be in the championship. Obviously, I don't know if the constructors championships for you.
Sorry, Andy.
Yeah,
I'm just going to butt in. So I'm just going to butt in because Martin said he's not going to race next week.
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm choosing to choosing to ignore it at the moment. Hopefully.
Sorry.
I don't know Martin well enough, but I'm hoping that he's going to rejoin and do that. It might be heat of the moment, spur of the moment stuff, Danny. Hopefully Martin will come round and we can get him back, because at the end of the day you guys are fighting over the copy of the game, so I'm sure Martin will reflect on it and come back, because if he remembers, a certain CRL Rosberg backed out of a championship a few weeks ago, and if he hadn't backed out of it, he could well be the man leading it right now. I'm not saying he would have been leading it, but he certainly could have been in with a chance. So we'll see what Martin does, whether he decides to come back or not. But yeah, I'll just read out his tweet. He's had enough, leading the race, 1 lap away from winning the championship, and he gets a puncture. That's him done. He said, good luck to Danny and good luck to Leopard. May the best man win next week. We'll see if Martin really does mean that next week. It's going to be a thrilling championship battle. I'm still going to read it out as a 3-way title fight. I don't know about anyone else. It's 127 points for TR Leopard. Sorry, is it 127? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Let me just make sure of that. It was... No, yes, it was 127 points for TR Leopard. Remember, he is ahead of Danny by 5, who's 122, and Martin has got 120. Even if Martin wins the race, he will win the championship, even if Leopard's second, because Martin has won more races. So it's in everybody's hands. Each driver will win the championship if they win the race. It could not be set up any better than that. Be sure to join us next week. It is going to be a cracker in the final race in Abu Dhabi. A quick word from Joe, who of course was in this championship final fight until today, where he had to join me in the commentary box. Joe, who do you see winning it from here?
If I'm honest, I can see Leopard taking it, because he has got the points advantage, and I think he overall, as I said in the stream earlier, he has the raw pace over the other two. Maybe not the consistency, but if he works on that between now and next week, I reckon he'll be able to take it.
And what about yourself? Were you going to be there next week? Are you going to try and throw a spanner in the works and try and get that victory to make them all squabble for the positions behind that? Is that something you're considering?
Oh, I'm telling you now, I'm winning the race.
Oh, brilliant.
We'll see.
Box office.
I'm joking, I'm not going to win. I don't know.
To be honest, that'd be great for me. If I can afford Danny to finish ahead of me. Points.
I'll race and just see what happens.
Oh well, that'd be great to see. It'd be great to have you involved in that as well. I don't know about you guys, but I think I could be ordering a few packets of popcorn to this house come next Friday. It's going to be a cracking finale to the season. Do not miss it, folks. It's the final round of the championship. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Winner takes all. It could not be set up any better. Will it be Leopard? Will it be Danny? Will it be the furious TRL Martin, who I'm sure will come back fighting next week? We'll wait and see. He says he's not at the moment. We'll see if he does next week. Join myself and join Diablo. He'll be back in the commentary box next week as Joe returns to racing for that cracking race next week. Hopefully TRL Martin will be back and we'll have a free car fight. It's going to be a cracker. Good night.